On today's episode, we're officially starting our sprinter build. Stay tuned.
I like to try and...
Hey everybody, Matt here for AVC, and welcome back to the shop. Like we said in the intro, today we are officially kicking off our Mercedes Sprinter build series.
Ow!
And to join us, we have Luke from GoCode, and this is a bit of a collaborative build, a Go collab, you might say, right, Luke?
That's right.
So Luke came out to help us out, get started on this build out, and Luke, why don't you tell us about the platform?
Okay, so this is a 2023 Sprinter 144. Or a VS30 platform, and this has been the platform since 2019 to present.
Okay, so yeah, so everything's like really no changes from 2019 to now, but some of the differences in that 2019 are going to be things like the exterior skin. They did a couple of modifications on the exterior skin. I know the headlights and taillights are different. I think some of the rear door hinges they updated, so like some of your rear tire carriers and stuff like that are going to need to be very specific to your model year. I think even maybe some of the windows, like back windows, are unique to this model year. But is there much else?
No, but as far as the interior build out goes, it's going to be very similar to 2008 to 2018.
Yeah, so a bunch of those things are going to be the same. So
yeah, all of our plastics work. There's a slight hinge modification that needs to happen on the earlier ones, but for the most part.
Yeah, I remember they have a little like triangle gusset, something like that, to support the hinge on the inside. So if you have a newer Sprinter, everything's going to line up exactly with what we're doing today. But a lot of this information is going to be very relevant to you if you have anything from 2008 to now. So it's a lot of years of Sprinter, and pretty much everything's been the same. So like same floor, same walls, a lot of the same windows, but I know like the back windows are going to be unique. In this build, we're going to be doing a few different things, but I think a lot of it's going to apply to anybody with like a modern Sprinter van. So this is going to be the first video in our series, and we're going to be prepping it for a build. And what that means is just kind of stripping things out and getting everything ready so we can start adding our camper van pieces and parts to it. This one came with these funny white exterior plastics, so we're going to be stripping these off and putting on regular black Mercedes plastics. We're also going to be adding roof rails to the ceiling. We're going to be pulling tie downs, putting Rivnuts inside, and what else?
Well, we're going to put some GoCode plastics in.
That's right, yeah. So we're going to be putting in the GoCode plastics on all the pillars in here, getting us ready for all the next steps so we can actually start this camper van build out. So stay tuned, let's get to work.
All right, so this particular van actually came with white plastics, which I just don't really like.
Yeah, not a good look.
Not a good look. And a lot of people like to seal underneath these plastics anyways. So we're going to pull these off and put some sealant on it, and then just go ahead and put some new plastics back on.
Yeah, so yeah, if you had black plastics on your van, you didn't need to remove them and replace them. This might want to still be a good idea because I hear people get like water leakage through some of these like upper factory pinholes. Is that kind of the idea?
That's right.
And they have a little rubber gasket on here, but any little bit helps, right? So like sealing up all of these holes is going to help us.
Right, and if you're just sealing, you're probably going to want to go ahead and get some of these clips just to have on hand because you're probably going to break some.
Yeah, and are these special for Mercedes? Is this something they need to get from their dealer?
That's right.
Yeah, or maybe online.
And you'll see on here, this has all of these pieces, but is missing here. So that we're going to show you is a T20 screw that's right behind the wheel well.
Yeah, so we'll get into some of those specifics as we get in there, but for now we're going to remove a bunch of these, and then we're going to seal up these. And only this upper hole is going to line up with the interior cavity. Is that right?
That's right.
And the lower one is kind of below the interior cabin?
That's right. So if you want to seal this but don't want to go through this whole process, you really can take some silicone or whatever.
Sealant, yeah. Today we're going to be using 3M 740 UV. It's just a 3M product, UV stable, so it can be in the sun. This is kind of our go-to sealant here in the shop.
Nice. Yep. So if you don't want to remove it and do all this, you can kind of seal at least the top layer of clips from the inside.
Yeah, and I think we'll do that on one of these just so you can see what that looks like. So we'll just pick one of these, we'll install it dry, and then we'll seal it up from the inside out.
Cool.
Cool. All right, let's get to work.
That's it.
So this is what we were talking about. You can see here, these holes are going to go right into your build area inside the van. So if moisture comes through here, it can get inside your wall at that point. But if it gets into these lower holes, it's just getting into the body panels of the van, it's going to drain out of there. So we're not as concerned about these. We're going to seal everything up anyway since we're doing it. But these are the holes specifically that we're worried about sealing up. So like anything else we're going to do on the van, we're just going to make sure we prep all these surfaces with isopropyl alcohol. That way we make sure all that factory residue, any dirt that's from the road, anything like that is going to be gone. And then I'm going to do the same thing since these are brand new plastics on this side. I'm going to go ahead and hit these with some isopropyl too. Mostly because there might be a factory release agent on this, and we want to make sure that that adhesive is going to bond on here really well. A lot of plastics are going to have release agent on them, so it's always a good idea to wipe these with isopropyl. So that is ready to go back in.
Now this piece is just gonna line up with your holes. Just kind of work it on. We can get this T20 started by hand. All right, it's tight. Let's move on to the next one. Now inside of the door is a little different. There is a plastic cover here that you need to get through, so it's just take your trim tool, take these little guys out. You only need to take the 2, and then you can access this T20 that's behind it. So this piece may feel a little awkward, but there are no fasteners on it. Or no screw fasteners. They're just these clips. So should be able to pull that up out of the way. There it is.
So we replaced all of the plastics around the outside of the van, but if you don't need to, I don't actually recommend pulling all those plastics to seal them. As you can see in here, we have some of these Christmas tree plugs that are coming through the van, and these are accessible from the inside. That is the top row right here. Okay, and as you can see, when we were pulling these off, we broke some of these clips, and most likely you're gonna break some of your own. So instead of breaking these clips and everything, we're just gonna seal these up from the inside out. This lower row of clips are actually down below the pinch weld, and we can't get to them from the inside, which means I'm not really concerned about that moisture getting through and into the van. It's gonna get into the body cavity, but it's gonna go through those weep holes, and it's not gonna interfere with our interior space. So all we need to do is seal these up from the inside. So I'm gonna grab my caulking gun, and I'm gonna hit these up from the outside, or from the inside here, excuse me. And the main thing is, I'm just gonna put some gloves on and smear these things shut. So we can put a little bit extra. We can just smear these up all around the outside, make sure everything is nice and sealed. And this is gonna be a pretty quick job, and it's gonna keep a lot of moisture out of the walls of our Sprinter. Okay, you can see I'm already making a bit of a mess, which is fine. That's why we're putting gloves on. These hard to reach places might be easy to just smear some on our finger and then apply it through the wall, because they're tough to reach places, and it's a little bit easier to go by feel than by a visual. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and smear these up from the inside, keeping in mind that we already did all of these around the van from the outside, so I'm just gonna hit up this one panel as a demo to you at home. Ultimately, I think this is gonna be probably a 30-minute job, just sealing up all these interior spaces, and it's gonna keep a lot of that moisture out of the wall. In order to add any accessories to the roof of your Sprinter, you are going to need these accessory rails. Now, some Sprinters come with them and some of them don't. This van did not have this rail, and so we're gonna have to add these in. These are from Mercedes-Benz, so we ordered these from Mercedes to be installed onto the van, and everything is already preset into the van here, so it's a pretty easy install. But we're gonna have to grab a heat gun and we're gonna have to remove these little plastic caps that are here on the roof. And this is gonna be a job easier done from the inside. So let's go ahead and jump inside the van and we're gonna remove these plastic caps. So these here are what those plastic caps look like from the inside. And the easiest way to remove these is just to soften them up with a heat gun so we can get those things up and out of there. And then we're gonna use the flat end of the back of the hammer to just push them up and out. So we're gonna turn this on. It's gonna be a little bit loud, so I don't wanna talk over it. But we'll turn this on, heat them up just for a few seconds just to soften things up. And then we'll just push them up with a hammer. No, not yet. There she goes. Boom, just like that. Okay. So we will go through and we're gonna heat each one of these up. We'll just push these out. And when we're all done, we'll check back in. With these seals pushed out, you might need a panel popper tool to remove them the last little bit, but most of these are all the way out of the way. So we're gonna pull all these out and then we're just gonna wipe this whole area down with isopropyl alcohol, get rid of any of that dust, and then prep this for our install. The bottom of this rail has a seal on it. So it has a gasket, and each one of these bolts has a gasket as well. So we're not gonna add any sealant on the outside, but on the inside, we're gonna throw a little bit of sealant just for some insurance. So all of our plugs are out. We wiped down everything with isopropyl alcohol. So now we're just gonna roll this into place. Pretty easy. Just drops right in there, just like that. Then we can go back inside. We're gonna hit some sealant and put the 10 mil bolts on the inside. So this is the inside of that stud, and we have the nut already on here, but we're just gonna go ahead and throw a little bit of sealant around this. You know, this is gonna be easy to do now, and something we wish we would have done in the future if we don't get them sealed up. I always like a mechanical seal, like a foam gasket, but if we can put something like a fluid applied or a chemical sealant like this, all the better. We're gonna get a little bit of squish out, and these things are gonna be on there.
Then I'm gonna follow Matt with a electric screwdriver on a lower torque setting. We'll just go ahead and drive these up. We can cinch them afterwards with a hand ratchet. We feel like it needs it.
With our roof rails installed on the top of the van, that is the last of our exterior preparations. So now we're gonna move to the inside. A lot of these sprinters have these tie downs that are located in the floor, and we're gonna have to pull all of these out to get our flue glored down nicely. We're gonna need a T45 to get these out, and we use our impact gun. It's gonna be pretty loud, so we can get through and get all of these things out. I like to save these because these are actually a pretty cool piece to use around. A lot of people, my friends will like weld these onto their trailers, but it's a pretty nice quality piece, and you might end up putting them back in through the floor. It is an option that we can offer here at AVC. So one of the first things in the van that we're gonna wanna prep is gonna be opening these factory holes. So the AVC kit is gonna utilize this row of these very small holes, and we're gonna utilize the upper row of these very small holes here too. We're gonna open these up to 7/16 of an inch because we utilize an 8mm Riv-nut, and that fits in here pretty well. So we're just gonna go ahead and open all of these holes all the way down the line. The Sprinter comes with some panels, and you're gonna see these that are from a self-tapping screw. So you're gonna see some kind of rough metal holes in your van too, and you can just ignore those. We're gonna use these nice clean holes, and they're on one plane all throughout the van. And that's gonna let our unistrut line up really easily for bolting in all of our cabinetry. They have another one up here on this location. So we're gonna go through, we're gonna open up all of these holes, then we're gonna hit them with a primer, and then we're gonna set our Rivnuts. Let's get to it. One more.
All right, now that Matt has already drilled all these holes out, I'm gonna just follow behind with some 5504. If you don't have 5504, I would get a Rust-Oleum clean metal primer. What we're gonna do is a fuzzy dauber and right to the holes. Sometimes I want to get inside a little bit. And the self-tapper holes that were already there, let's go ahead and hit those too. Just hit any kind of bare metal.
Now that all of our holes are opened up and primed, they're ready to insert the Riv-nut. So we have an 8mm Riv-nut. You can use whatever size you want. We like to use 8mm Riv-nuts everywhere. So if you're doing that 7/16 hole, you're gonna want that 8mm Riv-nut. We have a nice pneumatic air gun to put these in, but you can put them in with a manual. They also make some nice attachments you can put on a impact gun. So you can kind of put these in however you want. Here at the shop, we find they set the best when we use this pneumatic tool. Little pro tip, if you're worried about these spinning out in the future, a little extra insurance is putting some Gorilla Glue on your Riv-nut before you set it in there. This is just gonna help it stay in place just in case, you know, we don't want these to break loose, and it's a real nightmare if they do, because replacing a Riv-nut sucks. So with all of our Riv-nuts and everything in place, we're ready to start actually adding some things into the van. And AVC's wall kit is going to be using the GoCode trim kit for Sprinter. This is a 7-piece plastic kit, and it's gonna cover all of our pillars. So it's gonna cover our D-pillar, it's gonna cover over our slider, and it's gonna cover the blobs up front. And when you guys brought the van to us, it already had some of the Riv-nuts installed. So unfortunately, we can't show that, or maybe we can grab a little bit of footage from you guys. But it's a pretty simple install, and it's kind of the same as what we did. But Luke, why don't you tell us what you did to the D-pillars here in order to prep for installing this kit?
All right, what we have here is the GoCode Sprinter full interior trim kit. There's 7 pieces. What that's gonna be is 2 vertical D-pillars, an overhead D-pillar, a C-pillar, an overslider, and then 2 B-pillars. But since we're here in the back, let's take a look at installing this D-pillar. Okay, so now we've already actually installed the Riv-nuts that it takes to do this. And those Riv-nuts are gonna be the very bottom ones on each side, very top holes on each side, and all 4 of these top factory holes. So again, all factory holes, but they need to be oversized to a 25/64. So make sure you have that drill bit. It does not come with the drill bit, but it does come with all the hardware. So once you've drilled it out, you're gonna wanna just go ahead and prime every hole to prevent rusting. Now the one odd one is here at the bottom, and there is a second layer of metal just beyond it. But if you keep your drill bit very straight and slow, you can get right through that. Then you can use your either hand or pneumatic tool to get these 1/4-20 Riv-nuts in. So again, the verticals do the 1/4-20 Riv-nut at the bottom and the top, and then they also utilize these threaded, factory threaded M8s. So let's put them up. All right, let's put up this overhead. So now that I'm beyond the hinges, or the latches, and I'm making sure I'm good and lined up here, I can go ahead and put those bolts in, but I'm just gonna show you real quick, because that way, these are gonna come back off once we do our wall fitment. All right, nice and lined up. So again, now we have a surface to terminate to and fit all our walls, but we're gonna take this back off and get them upholstered. So now we've already taken these factory blobs out, and that's actually a really easy process. They kind of just, you may have to give it a little tension, but they should just come right out. Now the difficult piece is actually this foam. It can be an absolute bear. You can see where it was. It's taped on the surface and this surface. There's no great way. You could put a little heat to it, or you could basically just carefully bash it with a hammer and break it into pieces and pull it out. But so here's our driver's side B-pillar. It's kind of shoulders down, flanges behind the headliner, and then you can just put a self-tapper right in there. All right, this passenger side is going to be basically the exact same. Gonna get that bottom right, get that in there. I like to take this bulb seal and get it right there. Okay, we're there. Self-tapper right into there. This guy I like to try and, it's got a flange on it that's, you can kind of seat into that bulb seal first. Right along there, all right. Now we're gonna go up. So you can either put your self-tapper into here or put it here on the side. If there happens to be a little bit of a gap here, putting it here on the side can actually kind of draw this a little forward. So here, and in here. Let's take a look at the C-pillar. So this C-pillar is all about that bulb seal. I kind of like to work it from the top to the bottom as you kind of press the whole thing in. So once that bulb seal has captured that entire flange, next thing you want to note is make sure that these two are lined up. You can just start to run some self-tappers here in this flange, and that'll be that.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching. As you know, the Sprinter is a new platform here for AVC. We do a lot of transits, and we're excited to get working on this Mercedes. And we want to hear from you. Let us know in the comments below if you think Sprinter or Transit is going to be a better camper van in the end. If you want to get your build started, go ahead and head over to avcrig.com. We're going to have a bunch of these products linked in the description below, so you can order those there. And
if you need your trim plastics, go to GoCodeOverland.com.
Yeah, and we will add a link in the description for those as well, so you can order those direct from GoCode if you like. As you know, this is a new one. This is a new platform for us, so we're trying to get the name out to the Sprinter community. If you have friends that are building a Sprinter, go ahead and share this one with them. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next episode. Bye.